Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, your go-to platform for in-depth financial updates, sharp intel, and verified currency news. If you hold Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong, this could be the moment you've been waiting years for. Based on fresh insights and real-time Forex indicators, we may now be in the final stretch, where years of preparation and global coordination are coming to a head. According to trusted sources such as Frank26, we are no longer talking about future possibilities. We're in the execution phase of a long-anticipated global currency shift involving both the IQD and VND. For a long time, currency holders and investors have endured false starts, unfulfilled promises, and countless cycles of anticipation, but the current signals suggest something different. Forex platforms are no longer passively watching the dinar and dong, they're actively reconfiguring systems in anticipation of a valuation change. These are not small tweaks, we're talking about structural platform adjustments, category reassignments, and internal banking briefings already taking place. Frank's inside reports highlight that major financial organizations are now aligning behind the scenes to support a new valuation model that finally reflects the true economic strength of these currencies. This level of preparation isn't happening in isolation. According to Frank, agreements have already been secured, approvals finalized, and the framework laid down by financial architects and central banking authorities. Foreign exchange systems are actively retooling how IQD and VND will appear on international trading boards. What makes this monumental is the synchronized reform strategies underway in both Iraq and Vietnam. This isn't mere coincidence, it's strategic, calculated, and collaborative. Governor Alak of Iraq's central bank is pushing forward with the much-anticipated deletion of zeros policy, while Vietnam tightens compliance and enhances its financial infrastructure. Frank noted that where U.S. institutions once stood as roadblocks, they're now shifting gears into full support. Regulatory barriers that used to stall progress have been largely lifted. Instead, public narratives are aligning with confidential developments. For example, when 4 separate updates from Iraq's top leadership come out in the span of a single day, that's not random, that's messaging. The statement is loud and clear: we're operationally ready. Behind closed doors, Forex trading systems are already adapted. Currency classifications are being adjusted, regional settlement systems are being test-drone, and infrastructure previously on standby is now being brought online. Frank emphasized this is not speculative, it's endgame action. Legal structures are reportedly locked in, and local banking hubs have begun simulation tests for future currency flows. These test runs would not be taking place unless everything was nearly set to launch. At this stage, the only missing piece is the public green light. While many are still scanning headlines for clues, the real movement happens beneath the surface. Frank notes that professionals in the foreign exchange space rely not on rumors, but on documents, back-end integration, and authenticated rollout protocols. According to his sources, both IQD and VND are emerging as early blueprints for a wider recalibration of emerging market currencies. These nations, often overlooked, are now stepping into roles that match their actual economic weight. International involvement is increasing. The United Nations, which used to be cautious in its language regarding Iraq, is now vocally supporting the country's economic modernization. They're describing Iraq's reforms as transparent, stabilizing, and efficient. For those who know how to read between the lines, that shift in tone is monumental. It tells global financial institutions that Iraq is no longer on the economic fringe. They're ready for global reintegration, and the Forex world is responding. Frank further observed that the U.S. Treasury is now participating indirectly. That kind of movement indicates something far more strategic: coordination with American fiscal goals and geopolitical priorities. At this tier, events aren't chaotic, they're orchestrated. Instead of loud declarations, you see tactical synchronization. That's precisely what's unfolding now. Massive changes often arrive in silence, until they're lived and irreversible. Vietnam's side of the story echoes this transformation in a more reserved but deliberate manner. According to Frank, Vietnam's central bank has already executed critical back-end reforms. They've rolled out new digital transaction standards, enacted stronger anti-corruption measures, and sealed pivotal trade deals with Western powers. These are not just modernization steps, they're essential building blocks for full participation in global financial ecosystem. While Vietnam may not move at the exact moment as Iraq, it's clear both currencies are marching in lockstep toward a larger reset. Frank's guidance to currency holders was unmistakable. Get ready. Forget trying to nail down the rate or the specific hour, the transformation could be instantaneous. Forex databases can refresh without warning. Bank screens can update mid-transaction. Those who have positioned themselves wisely will be rewarded. Those who hesitate could miss the biggest opportunity of their lifetime. His insider intel also suggests this is not a one-off event. Central banks from multiple regions are actively exploring shifts toward asset-backed financial instruments, blockchain-based platforms, and instantaneous global settlement systems. Iraq and Vietnam may be the vanguard, but others will follow fast once the dominoes begin to fall. Investors who saw the early pattern and believed in it will be ahead of the curve when the next wave hits. And now back to Iraq. Prime Minister Soudani is executing what can only be described as a clean sweep. He's removed obstacles to reform, restructured key leadership positions within Iraq's financial apparatus, and expanded the nation's international alliances, all while staying firmly within regulatory boundaries. According to Frank, this isn't surface-level change. It's deep, systemic recalibration. That's why the IMF is offering public praise. That's why the UN is shifting its narrative. That's why Forex transactions are gaining momentum not months from now, but today. Test environments are now going live across multiple regional Forex hubs. Platforms are being upgraded, and data pipelines are being stress-tested for accuracy and volume. Frank warned that when the actual trigger is pulled, there may be no warning, no gradual climb, just an immediate correction to true market value. If that window is brief, it may not reopen for a considerable time. That's why readiness isn't optional, it's essential. What's especially important to understand, Frank reiterated, is that no one, not even insiders, knows the final rate or the precise timing. But what we are seeing is a strong and undeniable pattern: confirmed system upgrades, digital infrastructure changes, and public statements from authoritative institutions, all pointing in one direction. When indicators from the United Nations, U.S. Treasury, International Monetary Fund, and national banking leaders start aligning, we're not guessing anymore. We're standing on the edge of activation. This moment demands clarity and preparation. It's not just a technical Forex realignment, it's a symbolic transformation. The Iraqi dinar, once devalued by conflict and instability, is now being positioned as a legitimate tool of national power and pride. It represents sovereignty, recovery, and reintegration into the global economic network. The Vietnamese dong, steady and quiet, is walking a similar path, built on discipline, structure, and strategic reform. Frank's messages have been clear, consistent, and increasingly urgent. He emphasized that those who've held on to their IQD and VND through years of skepticism are now approaching a historical shift. What we're seeing isn't hype. It's the natural result of years of groundwork coming to fruition. This is not just another Forex fluctuation. It's a currency realignment that could set off a chain reaction across undervalued nations worldwide. He also noted that following Iraq and Vietnam, other emerging markets may begin positioning their currencies for similar updates. That means the Forex landscape in 2025 and beyond could look radically different than it did just a few short years ago. And those who saw the signals early, those who understood the importance of this revaluation window, will be the ones best positioned to benefit. What's particularly noteworthy is how this process has remained largely invisible to the broader public. That's by design. Real change doesn't happen through press conferences or headlines. It unfolds in signed documents, institutional test runs, and classified international coordination. Frank pointed out that the silence isn't inaction, it's security. The quieter the process, the smoother the rollout, and the fewer interruptions from those who might try to stall or disrupt the outcome. At the heart of this transformation is trust. Trust in long-term planning, trust in credible intel, and trust in the systems being activated right now. The fact that legal frameworks are complete, trading infrastructure is primed, and regulatory bodies are no longer obstructing, these are not rumors. These are milestones, and each one brings us closer to the reality that so many investors have held on to for years. For the average IQD or V&D holder, the time for waiting is almost over. Now is the time for vigilance. Prepare your paperwork, know your banking channels, double-check your access to Forex platforms. Because when this hits, and Frank was adamant that it will, it may come without warning and with irreversible speed. A missed window could mean a missed legacy opportunity. Frank also urged people not to get distracted by misinformation. In the final moments of any major change, noise increases, distractions multiply. Stay grounded in verified facts and official sources. Trust the indicators that matter: international financial activity, Forex back-end adjustments, and government-level policy shifts. Those are the metrics that will signal when this has moved from soon to now. And now, stepping back from the technical side, it's worth reflecting on what this moment represents. It's not just about profits or rates. It's about a global rebalancing. The Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong tell a bigger story of nations rebuilding, economies rising, and outdated systems being challenged. This is about more than currency. It's about control, sovereignty, and inclusion in the global financial ecosystem. Former President Trump's previous comments on Iraq's economic role continue to gain relevance. While not often discussed in mainstream media, his administration quietly supported Iraq's reintegration into global markets, aligning with current developments. As U.S. fiscal policy begins to intersect with global currency reform, many are now seeing the long game that's been in play. The coordination wasn't accidental, it was strategic. This is why attention from bodies like the United Nations matters. It legitimizes the change. When the UN speaks positively about Iraq's reforms, global financial players listen. When the U.S. Treasury shifts from observer to participant, timelines solidify. When the IMF shows support, the global financial machinery starts moving. All these institutions are no longer just observing, they're participating. So where does this leave us today on the current date in the USA? At the doorstep of a historic financial turning point. If you hold dinar or dong, you are no longer just a currency holder. You are a participant in a once-in-a-generation transition. What comes next could redefine personal financial futures, national economies, and the broader dynamics of global wealth distribution. At Iraqi Dinar News, our commitment remains unchanged. We provide the insights, updates, and data-backed analyses that help you make informed decisions. As the landscape evolves, we'll continue to track each development. From central bank policy shifts to Forex recalibrations to Treasury confirmations, you can rely on us to stay one step ahead, separating facts from noise. If this report offered you clarity, encouragement, or confirmation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support ensures we can continue bringing you the real story, unfiltered, grounded, and ahead of the curve. The system is live, the pieces are in motion, and the future is knocking.